Hey team, welcome to the latest episode of Accidental Business Owners.
The premise of the show is that 12 months ago, Seamus and I left our 9-to-5s to go full-time on the podcast business, and we ended up building a few other businesses alongside it, and we thought it would be interesting to document our journey.
We also teamed up with a business and mindset coach, Di Foster, who you might remember as a former Between Two Beers guest, to document the highs and lows of our business journey, and she is the perfect foil for this.
So these are like live coaching sessions. We're never quite sure where they're going to go, but they're always full of fun and really good insight.
And keep an ear out for the Xero listener question that'll be coming in the episode as well. Now, Accidental Business Owners is brought to you by the Ice House. Ice House is a community for Kiwis wanting to take their business to the next level. Their practical programs, one-on-one business coaching and short workshops are designed specifically for people who own and manage their businesses and the leaders they back to get things done. To learn more, visit theicehouse.co.nz. Enjoy.
Good afternoon.
It is afternoon.
Hey, Di.
Hey.
How's it going?
Fabulous. Just flew into the Tron and here we go.
Yeah.
Righty-ho.
Good seeing you guys back in the same room again. It's been first time since the last batch of episodes.
Oh, you're going to bring that up earlier, yeah?
We couldn't even sit down. It was like, here we go.
Address the elephant in the room. You guys good?
We're great. Did you not listen to the episode?
No.
Or did you only listen to the little snippet that we put on socials?
Yeah, that'll be right.
I did. I think for the listener, this is weird, right? Like what we do. Like we put stuff out on socials and it's clips and it kind of highlights the dramatic, and it's often like tears or swearing at each other, and like that's not really what's inside the show. Like we get on
swearing at you guys.
Well, we get on so well, and then there's been so many conversations across the last month of you guys good?
Yeah, funny enough, like last night, a guy came up and said, I watch a lot of it's on my radar, a lot of clips and social media stuff. And, I see your stuff come out. I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, there's another one of those. He goes, but that clip of you and Di. I
don't know where that was going.
That dragged me in, and I watched the whole episode and I was like, that was, okay, yeah, that really worked. He said it wasn't as bad as what the clip made out, but that was a really good piece of marketing to get me hooked into the episode. But, yeah. How are you?
That's what you boys do.
Yeah, Marketing Marcus, the genius on that.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyway, I think Stanley Henry actually commented the other day saying something about one of our, reels was iconic. And I was like, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big praise.
Well, that's what I thought.
Was it our one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was talking about that one or the one from the beginning of the year. Okay. It was hard to tell. People get confused.
A lot
of comments out there.
Well, as if you didn't watch the episode, we are fine.
We're
Di and I are
great.
fine. That is the weird thing about it, is that was a month ago, 2 months ago?
A month ago, yep.
So we have spoken since then.
A lot.
Strengthen the relationship, you might say.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good reflection.
A couple of reflections for me. It was on the back of a big day and we were 8 o'clock in the morning straight in here. So I was kind of like, I wouldn't pretend that we were like, we weren't a little bit tired.
Yeah.
And also I think that in reflection, sometimes you listen to these things and you think, in some respects, I just felt like it was both my best work and my worst, because it was like, there were a few moments where it's like, yeah, maybe I could have been just that little bit more boundary orientated. But I think in the other side of the equation is that in reflection, it got you exactly where I wanted you to be. So,
yeah.
So I think this is what we're going to talk about today is like it's been a year since you came on the Between Two Beers podcast, right?
Yeah.
And like what our relationship has become that it got to a point that like you were able to have this intense like know you so well, like you let yourself down.
Yeah.
After it's been a crazy 12 months, right?
It is. It's a crazy 12 months.
And that's what I tried to get across in some of the comments as well, is like, this is a year in the making. It didn't just happen in the room in the moment. Like there's a lot of, skin in the relationship to kind of get to a point where you're comfortable like that.
And we have a different relationship than I would in a typical normal, client relationship. It's not like, you've walked into my office once and I'm just like going to town on you.
Torn
I'm like,
strips off me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that particular situation was a year in the making, as well as our relationship.
You made a comment in the last batch of episodes about you don't know how much we've grown because we have only known each other 12 months. But it feels like a lot longer. Like we've got such strong, close relationships because we talk so much and because all of the stuff that is on our plate, we're sort of like working through together. So it's a lot.
On the episode that I was on like last year, that first big episode. One of the things that we said at the end is you guys said, you're going to be in our lives for ever. You're one of our people. And I thought, oh, I wonder if they'll always feel like that. and that was going through my head. I was like, oh, I don't know if they know what they've signed up for yet. We'll just see what happens.
Is my memory right that we recorded the full episode with you and then we did the first Accidental Business Owners that day? Or have I made that up?
It's testing the memory.
It is, isn't it? But that's kind of an example of how blurred everything is.
I think we did.
I thought we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did.
We had not had that many sessions before we recorded the first Accidental Business Owners.
I think you and I had only had
officially
Zoom. That was the first day we met.
It was the first day we met.
Yeah.
It was. Oh, how weird is that?
That's weird.
And it's also the anniversary of Seamus going full-time in the business, right? These things all sort of lined up. It's been 12, we were just talking about what are we going to talk about today? It's it's been 12 months since we've both been full-time business owners.
All in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some prep for this episode, and one of the things I wrote down was what was a decision that felt risky at the time, but it paid off? And it's how long did I kind of wait?
Drag the chain, I think is the right word you're looking for.
Exactly. Until I was all in. It's obviously that was, for me, that's the one that had paid off the biggest because it allowed us the space to kind of grow a little bit to where we are now.
Isn't it interesting though, that a year ago, what seemed like a big decision and how, does your life look different now?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Absolutely. I think the fear I had of what was on the other side of that decision and all the things that might go wrong, none of them have come to fruition.
And the funny thing about you guys is you focus on those things that might go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And old calculator over here was why would he do that? I've just worked out how much he earns there compared to what he's going to get over here. What is the problem here?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing in the last year that's come really clear to me is we've quite different outlooks on life. And I don't think you realise that about a friend until you're really in there in the trenches with them. And not every friendship is a business relationship at the same time. And separating those two, that's been a big one.
Very unique to have a best friend that you go into business with, I would say. A lot of the time it might be an acquaintance or a colleague or someone you kind of know. But we sort of put so we came to this episode with 3 things that we kind of wanted to talk about that have stood out to us across the last 12 months. And one of Shay's is yours. I'm going to hijack yours, is the personal versus business relationship and separating the two. And man, it's been a roller coaster, to be honest. It's been a ride.
Yeah.
Did you guys used to travel to Auckland together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now they don't.
Yeah, we've spoken about that a few times about how that's a real clear delineation. But it's I don't know how you feel about it. I definitely am feeling in year 2 more comfortable about having conversations where you're able to park the personal and only talk about the business and try and remove emotion from that. I don't think I've landed perfectly on it, but it's definitely something that kind of needs to happen or has to happen for us to kind of advance.
I always think it's interesting, why you ended up with me as a coach, because I've come from so many family businesses. I still work with my dad, I work with my sister, my other sister does a whole lot of stuff for me, and I work with her. And so there is that sort of inherent, because you guys are like family. But one thing that I thought about when we were prepping for this was that I call my father, he's either dad or pop until it's work, and then he's always Ross. And
It's interesting.
Yeah, I am and I can flick after working with him for 13 years straight. I can just flick a switch. If we're talking about work, I will automatically go to Ross because then it's peer to peer. And then if it's pop and dad, it's just got a whole nother feel about it. And so I was thinking about that this morning, because do you know what I mean? It's a way of distinguishing. I'm actually your business partner now, not your bestie. It's so there's just a little bit of a level of difference at times.
I don't think we've got a clear, we've worked that out yet.
No.
But there are times Monday mornings is all business. We're in there and we're prepping the week and there's back-to-back meetings and they're standing and it's kind of we're figuring our shit out. And it's kind of after lunch we might turn into friends a little bit and have a bit of a laugh and be a bit silly, but it's often the person we're around, the other person will dictate whether it's a business or personal.
What was funny was like, so last night we were at an event and we were heading towards it, and it had been a big day, a big work day, and we'd recorded something and we'd had some interesting kind of gnarly business chats, and then we went to this event. We were walking there, and we were both sort of talking to each other like, I don't want to have a serious conversation tonight at all. And in my mind, I was like, fuck, totally, man. Like, the only person I want to talk to tonight is you, and I just want to be silly for the whole time. And it was like, at that moment, I was in this like best mates kind of a frame of mind, and I was just thinking, I was steeling myself for all the chats that we were going to have about work and what it's like and how it's going. But at the same time, I was just like, I just want to stand in a corner with him and just like make social commentary on everything that's happening around us without anybody else
in your
coming
bubble.
in. Yeah, exactly.
That's an interesting observation. I feel like always, because that was at the end of a big 2 days, like 2 massive records, a shitload going on. And it's when we've kind of got to the other end of it, that's when we're both like fall into friendship mode, like the work has been done.
Yeah.
But
Just
that's also a good example of like the fast pace of life. So I did a smoke bomb from the, do you know what a smoke bomb is?
No. No idea.
We should do a segment of like Stephen Shea teach Di like social terms.
Oh, I don't look at my red dragon the same.
No, don't.
Don't look that up.
Do not look that up.
New Zealand Podcasts and Radio Awards.
But you got to explain smoke bomb.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, sorry.
So it was, we went there straight after this big day, big record. It was like 5 p.m. Had a beer, went there. 2 hours, and we were sort of sitting in the seat for 2 hours. The show was about to come to an end, and I was like, I don't have, like, my battery is dead. Like, I don't have it in me to have all of these sort of like small talk conversations with so many people in that room I knew, and I just made instant decision, right, I'm out of here. And what I went home to do was read a book that Ian Foster had written because we had a big interview on Monday and we had this to prepare for. And I was like, I just can't, it's too much. Yeah. And my thing was the fast pace of life. Like when I reflect back on the last 12 months and I think about what life was like before that, the pace of life coming at us is just frenetic.
Yeah.
It is so much day by day, week by week, like so much happens on any given week that has been the biggest change for me.
Mm.
Yeah, we had that conversation at the end of the work day, and it was, again, we slipped into friend mode of just like, and it's a point that I've got in there of like normalizing what you see as work, which is that versus what you get to do. And we were sort of kicking ideas around a bit, just like, how ridiculous is it that the stuff that we sometimes get frustrated with in work, there are actually such amazing opportunities that we've created that we get to either say yes to or say no to, which is another one of my things, is that I think we're still in the yes, yes, yes frame of mind of like, oh man, we've got to try and do that. We've got to try and do this. And now it's almost like that saying no to going to that thing afterwards is like the start of us starting to say no to things and being really, really protective around time and prioritizing things.
The quality of your life will be determined by what you say no to.
Yeah.
Because what you say no to is also a reflection of what you're saying hell yes to. And you can't do it all.
Yeah.
Nobody can. At some point, it's just that you've reached that tipping point where the incoming is far greater than you've ever experienced, and it almost seems criminal to say no to some of these things because what you wouldn't have done for those opportunities a year ago.
Totally.
And it's really hard because I get it because I feel like that the same. It's like what I say no to now, I'm like, man, the year and a half ago version of myself would have just been like, yes, I've made it if that opportunity had come. And now I'm like, no, thank you. And I'm like, who even am I?
And that's the pace. That's the fast pace of it. And I think that's something that our accountant, Matt Hinton, sometimes says as well, like in terms of an actual numbers on a bit of paper.
Yeah.
Of like, man, if you got to stop and pause and look at where you were last year and look at where you are now, just purely in terms of what's coming in to be able to support the two of you. And I think we still, like, we hear that messaging a lot, like you got to celebrate and you got to take time to stop and acknowledge. But it's interesting, that thing of, the stuff that we would have crawled over broken glass to kind of do on the way up is now, and it's not that it's beneath.
No.
It's not that it's beneath you, but it's sort of like, yeah, we just can't do all of the things.
No.
which bleeds into my final point, which is like the contrast between being free, which you are when you're a business owner. You've got no boss telling you where to be, but also being a slave to Google Calendar, which now when I look, I'm just like, oh my God, there's just so much stuff going on.
It was like phone call 8:30 this morning. You guys were like, I'll see you on the phone call. And I was like, what phone call? It's not in my calendar. And I freaked out. Like, what else is not in there?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful feeling. Like I had a friend who was opening a new building for his law firm in Taranaki. And he's like, can you come down for it? I was like, yeah, of course. I can go, like I can make time for it. But at the same time, like when that calendar gets loaded up and there's stuff you commit to, you know, a long time ago, and then it starts creeping up on you and you start packing out these weeks, like that's not sustainable.
And also I think that sometimes you push something out by 4 to 6 weeks, and then when you get to it, you're like, how did I even think that was going to be a priority?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you put off some coffees with people and then you're like, actually, that's just not that. Like, I'm going to choose them over me, you know, like, because if you're giving out all the time, it's like that starts to be the important thing that you're saying no to. Because when you're saying no to that, you're saying yes to yourself.
And saying yes to yourself to prioritize getting the mental headspace to do the doing, sometimes it feels like, for me, I don't know about you, it feels like too indulgent to be like, I'm going to block an hour out of just me, just doing some work, because I have a feeling like, I got to be go, and I got to do this and answer this and do this and do this, versus actually stopping like I did today and actually prepping for what we're doing here. It's a interesting kind of space to be in.
It is. And the thing, because when you're on, the cognitive load, everything works so much better if you've had a little bit of that rest. So you're actually improving the quality of the work. But it's interesting how we feel that it's indulgent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's unique to me. I don't know whether you feel that, but like if I've snuck away like this morning, 45 minutes of coffee, me and a bit of paper, scribbling ideas down, deep thought. I'm like, oh, this isn't work, but it is work.
It is work. It is your work. Yeah.
No, I don't find that indulgent. I need to do more of it. I just my big thing is trying to proactively create more time than that. You know, we've had so many of these convos about being less busy, and still, like it's still I'm not there.
Which leads on to my first point of, you know, after this time, there's maybe some things that I'd love, might be obvious that you might be missing, that have come up for me. One of them, the first one, is in versus on. And so I still think that you're working a lot in the business and very little on the business. And that's that time and space that you talk about, Steve, is, you know, it's like, how do I carve out more of that? Because that's where the gold happens for your growth as well. Because if you're just constantly in, then you're not kind of looking ahead at where you're wanting to go, or the opportunities that are like the more gold opportunities, and doubling down on them.
Yeah, and I'm having that forced upon me coming up next month. I'm away for 3 days a month for 5 months at the Ice House OMP. And that's going to be, I know that's what it's going to be about. And I'm going to have to figure it out. You know, that's 3 days I've got to clear the schedule for each month to figure out my shit.
And I reckon if you can do that for 5 months, then you can probably do that for the rest of your working days.
Are you excited about that? The opportunity?
Yeah, I am. I had so many great conversations after our David Downs live podcast with people that had done it. And just, you hear it from the people that are, you know, doing or promoting the course, and it's one thing, but people that have been on it and what they got out of it, raving fans of it. Like, it will change your life, it will change your business. Like, it's the best thing. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm also a little bit anxious about clearing the plate. To, you know, I can't find spare 2 days at the moment. I'm going to have to, but I am going to figure it out.
Delegation.
Well, that is a really interesting point, that, you know, stepping back and going, well, what can I shift and what can I make better? Especially because as you say, you're going to have to. So are you going to do it with a conscious front end loaded mindset, or are you going to kind of just roll with it and just figure it out as you go?
No, front end. And I think I've already started by, like what Shay was talking about, like saying no, being being more conscious about what I'm putting in that calendar in the back end of the year. We made a really big call today to walk away from something which was going to take a big part of our time. I think it's going to be really hard to get in the calendar now. And then it's just, being smart. I don't know, being smarter about the decision, the things we agree to do.
Bro, I was just thinking, like, can you remember? Can you remember back to when we were like starting and we'd get to like a Monday and we'd be like, shit, we don't have anyone to record an episode for like the following Monday. We would like be like, we'll just record it on Wednesday, like edit it on Friday, chuck it out on a Monday. And how different it is now to have like, we've got guests booked in right through to the end of July, right through into August. Like you say, it's going to be difficult to get in the back quarter of the year. It's just, even that alone is a big shift for us to kind of get used to working that way as well.
I think about that a lot, about the path it took to get here. I know this is a slight sort of detour, but we travelled from Hamilton to Auckland once a week for 5 years. Yeah. And we never missed an episode. Like, never once was one of us sick or did one of us have an excuse not to turn up.
Or if we were sick, we just got through it and then did a COVID test. Did a COVID test. The next
year where we made it fin sick.
The next.
But I was reflecting on that. Like, we've just never. I can rely on you for. If you say you're going to do something, you'll be there. Like you.
Actually, that's true.
Like,
if it's a work
up,
thing,
if it's a work thing, if it's a recording, like, you're always going to be there.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that's quite rare.
I think that's really interesting to talk about. You know, when people say, I always do what I say I'm going to do, that's great if you're really good at only saying you'll do a few things. But if you don't, you end up saying, well, I said this, and you do all those things. And it's like, but what did you say to yourself? And what did you break in yourself in order to do that?
This is hijacking that point a little bit, but I had a friend comment on our one-on-one around that, doing the bare minimum kind of element, and they were like, oh, man. And they came back finally and they said, I did a bit of thinking about it. It's like, in my job, I will go over and above to deliver the work that needs to be done, the job that I have to do. But in terms of my own personal development or my own things for myself, I will do the absolute bare minimum to keep myself out of my own head from actually doing the work. And I think that's a little bit where I'm at, or where I'm at.
Yeah.
I will not miss the record. I will not miss the research. I'll fucking research. I'll send you an email at 2 a.m. Here's the framework for tomorrow's show. I'll see you at the cafe at 7 a.m. I'll get 3 hours sleep, drive up, be there, sit there. But then if it comes to doing something for myself, it'll be like, I'll do that another time. I'll do that on the weekend. I'll do that some other. No one else will see that. I'll just sort that out when I have to.
Comes down to our non-negotiables, I reckon, in the story we've told ourselves about that. Like from a work sense, it's like, that's non-negotiable. I have to do that. But when it's if you're only accountable to yourself, man, you can have some amazing conversations there and talk yourself out of anything. Not you in particular, like all of us.
Sorry, don't worry, everyone. You don't.
This is not getting at Shay. We're all good. Hey, but me as well.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not pretending that I'm. It's like I listened back to that and went, oh, now Di, where am I doing that in my life?
This is a great chat, guys, but maybe it's a time for us to kind of have a little pause and get a listener question in from Xero.
Nice segue, bro. That was smooth.
Yeah, there you go. So this listener question is brought to you by Xero, your business supercharge. Now, I've loaded this one up, so this should go straight into our ear holes. Let's test our technology. Here we go.
Hey guys, here's a question I've got. What's the one piece of advice that you wish you had before starting your own business?
Ooh, Di?
That's a timely one.
Everything always takes longer than you think. That would be my, it's not so much advice, it's more of a warning. But that would be mine, is that getting a business up and running, getting the sales, getting your team together, everything always takes way longer than you'd want it to or than you think.
Yeah, I like that. Mine would be surround yourself with good people. I say that all the time. You, Maddie, Marcus, people on that same sort of journey of growth and just wisdom and can teach us things that we don't know.
And on that piece of gold, I'd always say invest in that before you think you need to, because I think it's the thing that makes the most difference.
I feel like you were looking at my bit of paper because I was thinking about saying that, but I'll build off that and say, once you do have those people around, then ask them lots of questions. I think don't be afraid to ask questions, especially when you don't know. Like we use the trope, explain it to us like we're a 10-year-old. But I think if you put some of that fear of not knowing aside and just ask heaps of questions of people, I think that'll stand you in good stead. Does that work?
Yeah, nice. And shout out to Xero too, because it's cool having a sponsor that we've used Xero so much, right?
And I've used it forever.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, it's changed the way that we operate. So if you want to get in and you're listening to this as well, you can try Xero as well for 30 days. Just head to xero.com and there are some terms that apply.
Right. So coming out the other side of that, Di, you were saying you've got some things for our next year on your mind.
Well, I think just in a reflection, I was like, kind of what's bubbling up for me in terms of like, if I had you for 5 minutes, what might I point out? So that in versus on the business, I think is really important. And I think going forward, if you can carve out 3 days a month for, heading to Auckland to do a course, then it would be amazing to find that same time, next year to be able to really work on the business. The second point I'd make is there is always a price to pay. So, whether it's when we're saying, if we say yes to everything, then you're paying a price, in yourself or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but there's always a price to pay. And I just don't think anything comes... Like there's no free lunches. Is that fair?
Oh, I mean, we've had a few. We worked hard over the last year to get a few. No, you're right. There's definitely a toll that everything takes. So that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that when we look at business, if we're specifically looking at business, if we're looking at business opportunities, then everything is going to take time, energy, or money. It's not going to just be like if we kind of put our name to it, then it will all work out fine. I think that would be the thing that I'd really want to make sure that, when I'm asking you to take a bit of space and working on the business, it would be like, how does this actually look from a commercial management point of view, and actually really diving into some of that stuff as to how we want the podcast to look, in a year's time, and really having that firmly in our sights. When I think about money mindset, I think about the fact that from the knowledge that I have about people that make an extraordinary amount of money, it's because they've added an extraordinary amount of value to their clients. So either in the product that they make or in the service that they make. And while there's this term that floats around in passive income, it's very rare that you can just sort of set and forget something. Even investments are not passive. There's some time and attention that goes to them as you grow and you're at different ages, stages and phases, then you want to do something different with them. So whenever we look at things in the future, I just would love to look through the lens of, what is the price that we're going to pay in order to do this? And is that price worth it? Because you guys have a couple of really, really special things about your brand that other people, you've spent 5 years building it. You've got a very, heavy top of funnel, which is amazing. And you've got unbelievable trust in your listeners. So we want to be really careful, my advice would be that you'd want to be very careful how you play that in the future.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've thought about over the last year as well, is the rooms that we walk into and the feedback that we get, I think, and that's kind of my point around normalizing what you see as work. Like sometimes I'll pick apart an episode that we've done, or we'll come away from it and go, not sure we absolutely nailed that. And then what we are really hypercritical of, nobody else sees. And it's got to the point not where people like just trust blindly absolutely everything that we put out there, but in terms of that working towards the New Zealand's most trusted storytellers piece, that vision, I feel like we're really well down the path of that, but we do need to be really careful about how we kind of move towards that.
Yeah, again, I feel like it's growing pains, right? Like, so a year ago, starting off like scampering around for sponsors, shit, how do we actually afford to be able to bring Seamus up full time? Like saying yes to everything. Oh, sponsors here. Okay, cool. And now it's like, well, there's lots of opportunities out there, and being a lot more considered about who we actually bring on, because over commercialization is something that's been sort of top of mind. Actually respecting the listeners, they respect who we sort of bring on the show and promote, and it's kind of like not many people would get to this position, right, where you've got a surplus of people wanting to give you money or sponsor your show, and you've got to decide, actually, I'm going to choose the ones I want. So up until now, like very recently, it's kind of just been like, oh, we just need to get this ship funded. And now we're at this privileged position where it's like we need to sort of protect the brand. It's
editorial as well. Like it's not being too selective on editorial, but also just being mindful, because it's a weird, I catch myself saying this, but I wouldn't say that we're steering like narrative, but I think about it in my sport commentary sense, that if you're a commentator and you're commentating an event, you've got a real strong ability to influence what the viewers are seeing and thinking about the game. So if I'm commentating a game, this is a real long bow to draw, but if I'm commentating a game and American Samoa are playing, and bad example because they're going all right now, but they're getting pumped 10. I'm correcting myself as I think about this, because I'm thinking about what people are saying, and they're getting pumped 10-0 in something. If I can put context around that picture that's being painted and say, hey, they're still out there trying, they're still playing for their country, they're playing for their family and friends, and this is the first time they've been at this level in the last 10 years, you can soften that a little bit for the people that are just looking at it and going, oh, this is a useless team that are getting pumped 10-0. Long way of sort of saying we've just got to be really selective around what we do and what we get alongside.
And I think it can be as simple as changing from a sponsorship sort of terminology to commercial partnerships, because I love that term.
Yeah, I've always preferred partner to sponsor personally.
Yeah, but a commercial partnership, it's like, how do we structure that going forward? I don't necessarily think it's necessarily that different. It's just being more mindful of what that might look like.
So, good year?
I don't know. What do you reckon? Mine's been amazing. Sorry, we're talking about you. Right.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year. The thing that people might not know is that, when I said, I don't know how much you have grown, you guys probably don't know how much I've grown either, because we've been doing this for the same amount of time, and our worlds came together last year, and your world's changed with, coming on full time, and my world changed when I said to my gorgeous boys while we were in Europe, I've given you 12 years of my life. That shit is now over. I'm going back to work full time. And then literally I landed back in New Zealand, did some work with a coach in Australia, came on your podcast and moved into an office, and life has never been the same since. So, our journey together has some really interesting parallels, even before we were together.
Can we just talk about you as a bit of a case study? Because it's not just you, it's so many guests that have come on the show, sort of to what Shay was talking about, and the platform and how we can sort of present them to people. Like in the 12 months, like how many, like you've been booked out for a year, right? Like how many keynotes have you done or had booked?
This year, I think I'm up to 20.
20, yeah. Right? Like crazy, because that's not us. You had that skill, like you always had it, but we just helped people be aware of you.
Yeah, so I think I did 5 last year, and I've got 20 this year that I've either done or am going to do. But up until I came on your podcast, I'd only ever spoken about my story. And I had this idea that it was like time to move on. I'd cathartically told, my cancer story, and it was time to move on. So I think from an energetic point of view, that was a major shift. Fine, I talked about a little bit about my story on the podcast, but our relationship was more around business and that. So that was, I think, that sort of, what do you call that? That bounce forward moment for me.
Yeah.
How much stuff have you said no to?
A lot, but a lot more now. I don't know how much I say no to, because I have an EA because I'm not very good at saying no. And so she is fantastic at just saying, yeah, no, that's not. So I've put things in place because I'm so bad at saying no. I've put something in place to help. because I'm really bad at it.
Do you reckon we'll still be doing ABO in 12 months' time, though?
I don't know. We've got an arrangement till the end of the year. I'll let you know if I've got the time for it.
It might just be BO.
Accidental as fuck.
I tell you what, though, this has been super fun. You know, like you talk about how does this even work? It's like, you know, someone said to me, you know, how do you end up where you are? And I said, I don't know, because I don't think it's a recipe. You know, there's some key moments in it, but so much of what we do is just work hard, do what's in front of you. You know, we asked before about the one piece of advice. That would be the piece of advice that I'd give someone. Do what's in front of you. Stop looking so much at what you want and desire and just focus on the things that are at your feet, the opportunities that you have right now, and work way harder than you think you should.
Last thing I'll say, I don't think I could ever go back to a 9 to 5.
No chance.
I'm unemployable.
No chance.
Always have been.
See you next week.